Hey guys, welcome to Slightly Unusual Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock on a Thursday, which means it's time for magic stuff. Now, over the last few weeks, I've been doing some videos on the 3 best things, the 3 best packet tricks you've probably never heard of, the 3 best sandwich card tricks you've probably never heard of. I'm doing a completely different one today. I am doing the 3 best tricks with holes that you've probably never heard of. Because here's the thing, you don't see many tricks in magic with holes, but the right trick can have a massive impact on the audience. So a trick that I'm not going to be talking about today, but is a perfect example, is the pothole trick by Michael Close. For those of you that haven't seen that routine, it's amazing. You take a business card and you get somebody to describe their street and you draw it on the business card. And then what you do is you hole punch a hole in the card and you say that's a pothole and you move it to the other side of the street. It looks amazing. And then eventually you take it off and you put it onto another business card that's kind of made to look like your street. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, the reason I'm not talking about that today is that's really well known. I know a lot of people that do it. I know a lot, and even if you don't do it, you probably have heard of it. It's a legendary routine. But it's an example of how you could incorporate punching a hole in a card or something else, and the impact on the audience is amazing because they know that a hole can't move. It is a tangible thing. Once you have a hole in a card, a piece of paper, whatever it may be, it cannot move. It's impossible. So when you do something magical with it, it looks brilliant. And I don't see hardly anyone doing tricks with holes, so I thought I'd go through the 3 best tricks that I use in my act with holes that you've probably never heard of. And I'm going to start off with a Sankey routine because Jay is a really creative guy, and I'm going to show you something that's been in my repertoire for probably close to about 10 years now. So like I say, the first routine I'm going to be sharing with you is a Sankey routine. Now, this has been published in a couple of different places. He brought out a DVD, which I believe is still available as a DVD and download, Routines with the $100 Bill Switch. It's in there. I think he also put it in John Lovick's book Switch. I'm not too sure about that, but it's definitely also in his 3-book set that you can get from Vanishing Ink. So there's a few different places you can actually learn this, and knowing Jay, it's probably in another one of his projects as well. But let's have a look at the routine first of all. Okay guys, I'm going to show you something incredible with a piece of paper. I want you to have a look at this piece of paper, and I want you to see that there's 4 holes in this piece of paper. Hopefully you can see that. There's a hole there, hole there, hole there, and hole there. It's just a piece of paper, and I took a hole punch and I punched 4 holes, 1 in each corner. Now, I want you to watch very, very carefully. Do not blink for a second, because if you blink, you miss it. You're going to miss it. There's a trick in magic called matrix, where you take 4 coins, put them on the table, cover them up with cards, and one at a time, they all go underneath the same card. Well, I'm going to try and do the same thing with holes in a piece of paper. Now, I want you to see that as I fold this piece of paper up, it gets smaller and smaller. But I want you to watch. You see, when I snap my fingers, it's happened. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, what's happened? Well, if I unfold it, I want you to see that the holes have all jumped into the same corner. There they are, right there in the corner of the paper. If you were here, I'd hand you that out for examination. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, you can understand how a coin would jump from one place to another, but a hole? That's not possible. But let's see if we can go one step further, okay? Because like I said to you at the beginning, if you remember, I said this is an illusion, and it is an illusion. It's not real. You see, if I fold it up again and snap my fingers, give it a little shake, it's done. And the reason I know this is an illusion, because now, if you unfold it, you can see that those holes are right back there in the corners of the corners of the piece of paper. And if you're here, you could examine everything. Okay, so that's the first routine that I wanted to talk to you about. And this, I cannot say enough good things about this trick. It makes the absolute perfect opener. Because my definition of an opener, it should be quick, it should be visual, and it should establish credibility. And this does all 3 of those things. It's over in like 45 seconds, but it looks so good. Like I said to you earlier on, the thing with a hole is when people realize there's a hole in a piece of paper, they know that it can't be moved. So, you know, when you start moving those holes around, it's absolutely impossible. What's nice about this is you can hand the paper out at the beginning for it to be examined. You do the $100 bill switch. You can then have the holes in the corner, and when the holes are in the corner, again, they can be examined, and then you can do the reverse and have them back in the corners, and once again, it can be examined. So it can be examined at every single point. The angles are really good. You don't need a table. It's up here. It's great for a big table. It's great for walk around. It looks fantastic. Now, I've played with different ways of doing it. What I just showed you there is the way that I do it now. But in the past, I've played around with taking a piece of paper out and just showing it. And I've pre-cut the piece of paper, and I take a hole punch out, and I actually punch the holes in the corners right in front of the audience. So I punch the holes in the corners, then I do the thing, and then I turn it back and I give it them back. And that's a really nice thing because they can see that you've got a piece of paper and you've punched the holes out in the corners. The other thing that I've played with is just doing one phase and just having a piece of paper, showing the 4 holes, doing it once, but then giving it out as a souvenir, which was great because people were playing with it all night. The problem is you have to carry a load of the 4-hole pieces of paper around with you, which I didn't really like that much. The way that I do it now is kind of the way that I do it. It also, as long as you've got your thumb tip with you and you've got it preloaded with your piece of paper, as long as you know the size of the piece of paper, this is almost impromptu. So if you're like out and about and you're in an office, for example, and somebody says, hey, show me a trick. If you've got an A4 piece of paper and says, scissors, I just need to cut this out. Let me show you something with this. Have you got a hole punch? And an office would have all of this stuff. I've done that in the past. I've gone to a meeting in an office. I knew they'd have all of this stuff, and I just had my thumb tip preloaded, and I've gone into the office and I've done this with their paper, and I've just left it with them. Absolute mind blower. It also makes a great transition piece. Let's say that you're going to be doing Matrix or some version of Matrix. It makes sense to actually do this first of all and say, you know, let me show you something with a piece of paper. Look at the holes, blah, 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 blah. Look, they all go into the corner. Now let's see if we can go one step further. Look, let me get some coins out. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time you know what's going to happen. I'll even cover them up with cards so you're aware of where everything is the whole time. And you can transition from one set of routines to another set of routines using this. And you can even go in reverse. So you can do a matrix, and then you can say the problem is coins, they're like, you know, I can hold them, you know, it's possible for me to maybe palm them or something. So let's try and do this with a piece of paper and a hole punch, and let's see if we can take this to the next level. So it's a great way to transition from one routine into the other. But and the other nice thing about this is if you're performing at an event where there's adults and kids, like a wedding or a birthday party or something like this, this does make a really cool routine to do. It transcends age. It works for adults, it works for kids, it works for all ages. If you have got if you're doing like a kid show and you've got kids arriving at the party at the beginning, you can walk around and do this and they'll absolutely be blown away by it. It's just a really strong routine. Now, obviously, it's fairly easy what's happening here. It's a $100 bill switch and it's a hole punch and you're good to go. But I advise you to really check out Jay's work on this. If you haven't seen it already, go check out Jay Sankey's $100 bill switch DVD or download, because he's got some really amazing routines on there using the $100 bill switch in a very creative way. And this is just one of those examples. So there you go. This is one of my favorite openers. This is the first trick that I'm going to show you using holes that you've probably never seen before. Okay, so the second routine we're going to be looking at is, ironically, it's another Jay Sankey trick. Jay is one of these guys that has been really creative when it comes to holes punched in cards. And this is a routine called Moving Violation. I think this is called Moving Violation. The reason I'm a little bit vague about it is I have literally done this for about 10 years. Jay released it as a standalone routine. So he released it many, many years ago as a trick along with a gimmick. And then I think it's been written up in his big books of magic by Vanishing Ink. And I think he's got it available now on his site as a download as well. It's called Moving Violation by Jay Sankey. It uses a pack of cards, it uses a hole punch, and it uses a Sharpie marker. So let's have a look at that routine right now. Okay, so we're going to try and do something with a pack of cards. We've also got a hole punch and a Sharpie marker. Stay. Sarah, do me a favour. You're going to grab a card. Which one would you like us to go through?
7.
Cool, good stuff. And I'm going to write your name on there. So we're going to write Sarah, S-A-R-A-H. There we go, Sarah. So we have your card with your name on it. like that. And it's unfortunately a little bit smudged, but there you go. Now the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle on the back of your card. So my question is, can you see the circle right there on the back of your card?
Yes.
Sarah's signed card with a circle on there. Perfect. So we're going to try and do something impossible. That circle, it's going to be kind of like a target. And I'm going to take a hole punch. I'm going to punch a hole in the card, and we're going to magically try to move the hole into the circle. I know that sounds ridiculous, but let me show you exactly what I mean. I'm just going to punch a hole right there. So hopefully, if I take, it's difficult to see because it's on the deck, but if I take it off the deck, you should be able to see the hole right there. Can you see the hole?
Yeah.
Right there along with the circle. So watch really carefully. It happens on 3. 1, 2, 3. And I can move that hole right there to in the circle. It's still your signed card. It's still your signed card, but now the hole has moved right there inside the circle, and you can have that as a souvenir. Right, so that is Moving Violation by Jay Sankey. What's nice about this is they are left with a signed card with the hole in it. And you don't see many routines like that. You know, Michael, I reviewed this on the review show with Ryan a little while ago. Michael Chatelaine bought out a kind of a matrix with a card with holes in it, where the 4 holes were punched in 4 corners of the card, and there's a series of levers on the back, and it makes it look like the holes are moving around. It looks absolutely amazing, but it can't really be examined very, very well without doing a switch. And to be honest, with so much happening on that card, the switch is really under a lot of heat. With this, you've got one very, very simple gimmick that you can make in literally a few seconds. You can add the gimmick onto the deck when you need it. If you don't need it, you just don't have the gimmick on the deck. When I tend to do this, it tends to be more in a walk around situation. And what I do is I have the gimmick in my pocket. And I won't do this as an opener, but when I know I want to go into it, I'll just have the deck of cards, and I'll just palm the gimmick onto the deck, and I'll be ready to go. And as soon as I finish the routine, I can palm the gimmick off again. It makes a nice finale to a signed card routine, because you know, if you've done, so for example, an ambitious card or a card to pocket where you've had the card signed and it's kept coming to the top of the deck, maybe it's gone into your wallet or whatever, you can then say, well, let me do one more thing with that card. Let me do one final thing with it. Let's try and do something completely impossible. And then you can bring out your hole punch and you can go into this routine. It is very, very visual. That moment, they are convinced that because of the routining behind this, and it is very clever from a routining point of view, they are convinced that the hole is here and the circle is here. So when you do the move and you go boom and it jumps, it really catches people off guard. And then you give them out to them, and they can look at it and they can examine it and they can keep it. It is a very strong moment of magic. And I think what Jay's done here is he's simplified the routine right down. He's kind of thought to himself, right, okay, moving hole. What's the best way to do a moving hole? And he's just literally done one movement. But the clarity in this trick is what makes it. Because rather than holes jumping all over the place, and when this hole's going to jump here, this hole's going to jump here, it's literally a case of, look, there's a circle, there's a hole, boom, it jumps into the circle. And I think the simplicity of this is what makes it so strong, and especially the fact that then immediately you show it's their signed card and you give it them. And especially if you follow this up with another signed card routine and they've been handling the card and they can see that there's no holes there, there's no pre-drawn circles on the back of the card, there's no holes pre-done in the card or anything like that. It is a regular card, and you prep it as during the course of the routine. And again, this comes back to the construction of the routine, which is incredibly clever. I really advise you to pick this up. It's really cheap. You can get it as a download off Jay's site, or as a standalone thing with the gimmick. But to be honest, the gimmick is something you're going to have lying around your house anyway. Yeah, it's a really strong routine. It's really well thought out, and it's nice that you can do it at any point during your act. Great for walk around. Okay, so the final routine using holes that you've probably never seen before is by Marc Arthur, and it was published and released as an actual product called the Hole Deck, WHOLE Hole, but W's in brackets, the whole deck, by Cosmo Magic. Cosmo Magic are amazing. They're absolutely fantastic. I picked this up when it was first released. In fact, I remember reviewing it years ago on the Wizard Pro Review, giving it a rave review and saying this is a super commercial routine. But you know what? In all of the years since then, I have never seen anyone perform it, and I do it all the time. It's such an amazing routine to do. Let me perform it for you, and then we'll talk about what's good and bad about it. Okay, so I'm going to show you something, Sarah, with a pack of playing cards, which apparently I'm unable to get out of the box. Pack of 52 cards. And let me show you, they're all there, they're all different. Can you see those, Sarah?
Yes.
Good stuff. And you're going to grab a card for me. And you can take any card you want to. So I'm going to riffle down the deck with my thumb. Just say stop.
Stop.
Cool. Are you happy with that card right there?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'll push it forward. The 5 of clubs. It doesn't matter whether I see it or not. So we're going to use the 5 of clubs for this, okay?
Okay.
Now, let me just grab the box. What I'm also going to do is, you probably notice on the other side of the box, I've actually got a little a hole and put that there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
This is actually a portable hole. If you've ever seen the Roadrunner cartoons, and they have a portable hole and they drop it on the floor and then the coyote drops through, it's the same basic concept. What I can do is I can put that portable hole right there, and when I put it in just the right space, that creates a hole in the card. Now, it doesn't look very impressive. You can make it look more impressive if you kind of wave it around like that and give it some motion. It still doesn't look that great though, until you snap, and that's when it turns into a real hole. You see, if I slowly just do this, you can see that hole has turned into a real hole. Isn't that weird? It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people say to me, well, that's crazy. How can you get the hole off the 5? Well, there is a way to get the hole off the 5. Let me show you what you do. All you have to do is pull the hole. You have to just pull the hole, and you can pull it over here. Watch, once, twice, 3 times, and I can actually pull the hole, but what happens is the whole deck ends up with the hole. I mean, that isn't actually a whole deck. I know, right? And all we've got left on the 5 is the portable hole, which I can take off. But the question when I do all this is, people say to me, well, that's wonderful and all, but where do the holes go out the deck? You know, where does this go? Well, they go back into the box. Listen. Yeah, check this out. Look, inside the box, there's the holes. And that is the whole deck. So that right there is the whole deck by David Arthur. I cannot say enough good things about this product. Honestly, if you're a commercial close-up worker, you have to get this prop. Let me talk about the cool things about it. So first of all, obviously you have to carry a deck around to do this. I find that when you're doing walk around, this is a walk around thing. I'll do a video about this at another time, but I honestly believe that as performers, we need to have 2 separate sets. You need to have a set for walk around, and you need to have a set for tables, because different things work in different environments. It also means that when you get to a gig, if you've got walk around to do first of all and then table magic, you can switch what you're doing in between the first and the second set. So if you're going back to the same people, you can be doing completely different stuff. And for me, this works better as a walk around trick. You have to carry this deck around with you, obviously, to perform it, which is fine. To be honest, it's fine. It's not a problem at all. You can do it without this deck, but to be honest, then what's the point? You carry this deck around with you. Now, the reset is instantaneous. So let me show you the reset. The reset is literally that, and I'm reset, ready to go again. Now, the question is about these holes that fall everywhere. This very much reminds me a little bit of Shriek of the Mutilated by John Bannon, you know, where you've got like, they just don't see this coming. They think that the trick ends with the hole going through the whole deck, which would make sense because that's such a strong ending. And then you tip these holes out that are examinable. People don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. The only problem with this is there's a deck switch involved, and if you're going to do this, you have to have another deck of cards. So to perform the whole version, you have to have a deck of cards set up to do the whole deck, and you have to have another deck of cards set up for the whole reveal. So when I'm doing walk around, a lot of the time I won't do this part. Plus also it can get a bit messy because the holes go everywhere, and you know, especially if you're doing walk around, I tend not to do this part in walk around. It's strong enough just to have the holes go through the deck. However, I do this routine in sort of a parlor show. And if I'm booked to do a parlor show or kind of more of a formal close-up show, this is one of the first routines that I do, and I always do this. because again, at that point, pocket management isn't really that important. So it's kind of being aware of your environment and being aware of your surroundings and knowing whether this is appropriate to do or not. I also don't do this as a standalone routine. I did do it as a standalone routine there, but normally I do it to finish a card set before I transition into something else. So you want people to realize that it's a regular deck of cards. So you want them to realize, hey, you're doing stuff with this pack of cards. I don't know what you're going to do some sort of routine, a couple of different routines, let them shuffle the deck, let them handle the deck. And how I get into it, when I go into my pocket to take out the box to show them that the hole's on it, that's when I switch the deck for this deck, and it allows me to go into the finale. So that's something that you need to be aware of as well. But it's super visual. That moment where you pull the hole off, they just don't see that coming. I don't think Sarah's ever seen that trick before, and you heard her reaction when I pulled the hole off. It just looks stunning. It really does. And then when the hole goes through the whole deck, people just want to examine it. And when I'm doing this and I've got people around me, what I tend to do is when the deck appears with all of the holes in it, I just say stick your finger out and I hang it on their finger, because everything can be examined with this routine as well. Immediately after performing it, at any point in the routine, you can examine it. And as I say, it's an instant reset as well, unless you're using the kicker finish at the end with all the extra holes. It's an instant reset other than that. So, instant reset, super visual. Magic happens in the spectator's hands. Different to anything they've seen before. Can be incorporated into a longer card act. There's literally no downside to this either. And again, when it comes to tricks with holes, which is what this whole video has been about, it's not something that people have seen before. We've all been there where you go up to an audience and we go, hey, I want to show you a card trick, and they go, I've seen that one before. Because laymen assume there's only like 5 or 6 card tricks that magicians know. And when you start saying, well, look, this is a hole, I can pull the hole off, people are just like, what? This is impossible. So yeah, highly recommended. It's called Hole Deck by Cosmo Magic and David Arthur. So there you go. So there's the video. That's 3 routines with holes that you've probably never seen before. So question for you right now, have you seen any of these routines before? Have you seen any of them? Do you do all 3 of them? In which case, let me know in the comments what you think about them. Are there any routines with holes that I'm missing? Again, with all of these videos, I might do a follow-on video, because there are lots of other tricks with holes probably that you've never seen. So let me know if there's a trick with holes that you do that you really, really like, that that I've missed, and I might include it in a future video. There are so many out there. Jay. If you look at Jay Sankey's material, he's got so many. I think that the most famous of those is the inner flash routine, where you take a coin, you have it signed, it's wrapped up in paper, and it burns a hole down through the deck and lands on the selected card. There's so many different routines with holes. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and also please subscribe to the channel. We go live every single day. We're putting in about 14 videos up a week at this point. So at 6 o'clock every single day, we go live with a Magic Live, a performance. But then tomorrow, I'm going to be here with a rant. Saturday, an honest trailer. Sunday, we've got a Q&A. Monday, we've got a marketing for magicians. And then I'm back again on Wednesday with the review show with Ryland. So check out all the content. Thanks very much for watching the channel. And I'll catch you again soon. My name's Craig from Slightly Unusual Magic TV.